Okay. Let's graph number 2 as well. Okay, we're going to do a lot of 1 square root, 1 cube root. Right, so on this one, I'm going to do -3. For cube root, that's math 4. Okay, math 4. So -3, math 4, and I'm going to put an x underneath it. Okay, again, that's math 4 is the cube root. That's the one we're going to use. For square root, it's right here. Okay, and you have to do second square root. It's on the outside, but for cube root, it's math 4. Okay, if you want to make a little note, math 4. That's not a bad idea, so you remember where it is. Okay, I've got that in my y equals. And let's identify what these things are. They're both in the front, okay, and they're not inside the square root. So what does this negative do when it's in the front by itself? Okay, that reflects in the x-axis. Okay, that means it's going to flip over the x-axis like this. Okay, and then the 3 is a vertical stretch by 3. Okay, vertical stretch means stretching upward. Okay, so when we graph it, this one actually is going to be one of the first graphs we see that actually kind of does look like it's stretching. Okay, stretching it up and down, so it's getting bigger like we expect a lot of times. Okay, because with the other graphs that we've done, the stretch makes it get skinnier, and people usually think that that's a shrink. Okay, so it's going to get fatter. That's what it's going to look like. But again, we can get the exact points by looking at our table. And if you see here, there's no error. All right, no errors on this one because there are no places where a cube root graph won't go. Okay, so I'm going to start with, let's see. I'm going to just start right here in the middle. That's my y-axis. Here's my x-axis. Okay, I've got -1, 3. I've got 0, 0. And I've got 1, -3. Right, and if you see like the next one, let's see, -3, 4.3. You can see it goes like right there. I'm just going to kind of guesstimate it so you can see that it curves at the end. And we'll do 2, 3.7. Sorry, 2, -3.7. Be like right here. -2, 3.7 would have been one as well. And then if you go down one more, 3, 4.3. Sorry, 3, -4.3. You can see that it's supposed to kind of go like this. But again, we looked at the graph so we could see what it's supposed to look like. Okay, I would kind of just curve it, make it curve. It doesn't have to be perfect. But you just need to know that don't just connect those 3 points and think like that's done. It needs to curve like that. And if you look at the graph, that's what it's doing. Of course, here we're only getting about this much. Okay, so that's why this one doesn't look exactly like it looks on here because we're not going all the way to 10. If we went all the way to 10, these would come out pretty straight. Okay, so what's the domain of a cube root function? Anytime, right? It's going both left and right forever. It's all real numbers, okay? It's going left and right forever because it's all real numbers. Same with range, okay? It's going down and up forever, even though it flipped, okay? It looks different than this one because it reflected in the x-axis, but it's still going to keep the same domain and range, okay? No matter what, cube root functions will have the same domain and range, and it should look like that. Right, then at the bottom of the page, I'm going to be gluing this page, this little paper that we cut out. Okay, this one, and hopefully it looks familiar to you. Okay, we've had it several times. It's the same chart that we've already had, only this time it's with square roots and cube roots. Okay, and it shows what they look like. But we've seen this a bunch. Okay, this is a good example where it tells you what the f of x notation is. Like if it's inside, outside, remember that's important. But when it's inside here, there's no parentheses. It's a square root. Okay, it means underneath the square root sign, underneath the cube root sign. Okay, if it's underneath and it's a minus, that's right. If it's underneath and it's a plus, that's left. Okay, most of this stuff I think that we're pretty familiar with. We've done it several times. People are pretty good at it. Okay, so just glue that in on that first page. You can pause it if you need time to glue it in. I'm going to keep going and move on to the next page. Okay. Okay, we already did number 1 and 2. We're going to go to 10 today. Okay, we're just going to have 10 problems. So I just want to let you know so you know what to expect. Number 3. Okay, on all of these, we're going to describe the transformation and tell the domain and range. Okay, we're going to describe the transformation and tell the domain and range. So this first one's going to be f of x. That's always the original. Will be the square root of